How do you find the basic attributes of an ellipse? What are some basic ways that we can do that? Well, that's what this video is about. Let's find out. What are some of the attributes that we can tell from just looking at the equation? Let's see. First, let's deal with the center. So it looks like the center is going to have coordinates of 3, 5. So the x coordinate of the center is going to come from the 3 in the x part of our equation, and the y coordinate of the center is going to come from the 5 in the y part of our equation. Now let's see if we can figure out this vertex. That vertex is going to have a coordinate of 8, 5. And if we notice that that's exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units away. So there's a distance of 5 between this point and this point. Notice that if we took the equation that the square root of the larger denominator, the square root of 25, is 5. So that square root of the larger denominator is going to tell us how far we're going to go to get a vertex. Because if we looked at the second vertex, it has a coordinate of -2, 5. And -2, 5, if we're at 3 and we count back 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 back from 3 puts us at -2. So in other words, there's also a distance of 5 to get to the other vertex from the center. What about this co-vertex? How would we get that? Notice that that coordinate is 3, 9. So if we started at the center and we counted up to that coordinate, we'd have to count 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So there are 4 spaces between this coordinate 3, 5 and this coordinate 3, 9. What does that have to do with the equation? We notice that if we took the smaller denominator, this 16, and we took the square root, what's the square root of 16? 4. So that's the 4 that we're using to get from the center to that co-vertex. So based on that, what do you think the coordinate of this co-vertex would be? Pause the video and see if you can figure it out yourself. So if we're using the same reasoning, it should be just like how it was 4 spaces to get from this coordinate to this one here. It should also be 4 spaces to get from this coordinate to that one there. So if we count down 4 spaces, we should end up at the coordinate 3, 1. So at this point, you might be wondering, and you should be wondering, how do we figure out the coordinate of this focus? How do we get the coordinate of this focus? Well, there's a special formula that helps us to figure it out. And we're not going to get into the derivation or where the formula came from at this point, but it always works to help us to find the focus. So after we get the formula, maybe you can use that to figure out why the coordinates are going to be the following. So this is what we know so far. An ellipse can either be vertical or horizontal. It's going to be vertical whenever the larger denominator is underneath the y, and it's going to be horizontal whenever the larger denominator is underneath the x. We can find the center just by looking at the number next to the x and the number next to the y. That's going to give us the center, whether it's horizontal or vertical. These other attributes, as long as we can figure out a, we're going to move, add or subtract a, basically to get the vertex. And depending on whether it's horizontal or vertical, we're either adding or subtracting. If it's vertical, we're adding or subtracting to the y part of our center. or if it's horizontal, we're going to add or subtract to the X part of our center. These are the things we're going to cover in another video, but these are attributes. If you look very carefully, these are things that we just noticed in the graph that we just got. Thanks for watching.